quality first, putting it into everything you do. That was episode 20. A call to action, motivation and challenge, episode 14. Your first job and pathways to success, episode 9. Staying connected, episode 50. Commit to your success, episode 28. Choices, choose to take charge of your life, episode 24. Living a life of excellence, episode 43. That's when he really got into Ben Franklin's 13 virtues. Desiderata, a positive model to live by, episode 40. Dave did a lot of shows here with me. I think that's the most of the shows he did. Well, Dave, thank you so much for everything that you've done. God bless you. Okay, well, the next thing we've got here, the next person rather, is not a thing. The next person that I really want to talk about for a few minutes here and say a special thank you to is Don Green. Don Green is the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And Dave's been on the show 9 times, but Don Green was on the show 4 times himself, and we have about 7 other shows that are using Napoleon Hill principles and information and teaching Napoleon Hill principles to the listeners. As you know, if you listen to the shows, I came to Napoleon Hill when I was about 20 years old or so with a person that I call Bill the Plant Man. He gave me my first copy of Think and Grow Rich. And that was one of the greatest blessings of my life, to be introduced to Napoleon Hill. Don Green, as the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, is probably the person on the earth that's the most like Napoleon Hill. His personality is amazing. And one of the things that I got to tell you about Don Green is that I think that he is the most natural person at getting up every day and knowing that he is here to help someone. He actually has told me on several occasions that the very first thing that he does every single day when he gets up is to say to the Lord, Lord, who can I help today? I guess that's why he's the head of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And he's been just such a wonderful guest. And I've been sharing the thoughts of Napoleon, thoughts for the day of Napoleon Hill. And there's just so many shows that are involving Napoleon Hill. When I go to prisons all over the country, I give 5 or 6 copies of Napoleon Hill books to the prison libraries. And it's just a thrill that everywhere I go, many, many people are familiar with Napoleon Hill. They love Napoleon Hill, and it's about as good as it gets. I've said from the beginning that the 3 books that have influenced me the most in my life were, the first book, number 1, is the Bible. And I can tell you that most every guest on this show that I've had, that's also their number 1 book. And the second book is Think and Grow Rich. And then the third book was Outwitting the Devil. But there's so many other Napoleon Hill books that I could also say. But when I go into prisons and I share Napoleon Hill books and I introduce those that don't know about Napoleon Hill to Napoleon Hill thinking, I am so honored and blessed that I'm given the privilege to go do that. So Don, I just want to thank you for that. I'd like to read what Don wrote to me. Steve, I would like to congratulate you on Right Thinking's 100th show. On behalf of the trustees and employees of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, I want to extend my deepest appreciation for the great work you are doing to make this world a better place in which to live. I can think of nothing more important than furnishing others with encouragement and the right information to help them lead a better life. You are helping to create a legacy with the wonderful work you are doing through the Right Thinking broadcasts. Keep up the great work. Don M. Green, Executive Director, Napoleon Hill Foundation. Now you can reach Don Green and the Napoleon Hill Foundation at naphill, NAPHILL.org. And so I encourage you to do that and subscribe to the thought for the day. That's just incredible. Now, I did a lot of shows with Don, and one of the shows that we did were stories about Napoleon Hill, episode 7. Mastering the Mastermind Group, episode 11. Going the Extra Mile, episode number 33. Applied Faith, episode number 57. I did a show on a book that was just published that Don Green had published that is the 5 Essential Principles of Think and Grow Rich, episode number 83. And the episode before that, episode 82, my friends call me Don. That was a really special episode. I was at the Napoleon Hill Foundation with Don, and that's when we had Dwayne Malow a man that I mentored that had been incarcerated for 27 years call in and talk directly to Don. I introduced him to Don that day, and the name of that show is My Friends Call Me Don. And that was just an incredible show for me. I did a show called Outwitting the Devil. It was a book by Napoleon Hill. That was episode number 8 with Johnny Thomas. And Johnny Thomas is a young man that I met at the YMCA that I gave a copy of that book to. And he just read it and came back to me and told me how it changed his life. So there's just so many shows that we've done that have Napoleon Hill content. And Leffert Fate, who you're going to hear about in a few minutes, I introduced Leffert to Don Green, and they ended up having an incredible relationship as well. And so part of what this whole show is about is trying to impress upon each of you the importance of networking. And as I said, the friends that you keep. You're judged by the friends that you keep. But if you heard me before, Richard Kay introduced me to Jeff Heiser. Jeff Heiser introduced me to Leffert Fate. Leffert Fate introduced me to the people in South Carolina and got me into prisons in South Carolina. Everything just keeps networking. Don Green introduced me to Jim Stovall, who I'm going to talk about next. Well, as I finish thanking Don Green, Don, I just want to say this to you. Don, I love you. I love you as a friend, as a person, and the work that you do your whole life to help other people is just absolutely incredible. And may the Lord bless you for the rest of your life. Okay, so the next person that I want to share with you is Jim Stovall. Jim Stovall is one of the most incredible people that I've ever known in my whole life. Jim Stovall got the International Humanitarian of the Year Award in the year 2000. And I'm sure that most of you have heard about Mother Teresa for the most incredible work that she's done. Well, Jim Stovall got the same award that she was given. She got that award once. But Jim Stovall, he has one of the most interesting lives of anybody that I've ever come across. When he was in high school, a senior in high school, he was going to probably be the number one recruit for football in the country. He was a lineman with speed, agility, size, 300 pounds or so. And according to him, he had never read a book before. He was being recruited by everyone. He was just going to be an NFL football player. He went to the doctor. He got diagnosed with macular degeneration. And they said, we're sorry, but you're going to be going blind. It's irreversible. We don't know when. But it's what it's going to be. And so by the time he was out of college 4 years later, he was blind, but could still see a little shape. By the time he was about 27 years old, he was lights out, pitch black blind. And Jim Stovall, he had to change the whole direction of his life. And he went to college and got a degree in finance. And I think he was like a stockbroker for a while. But he then went to the Olympics as the United States heavyweight weightlifting champion. Not Special Olympics because he was blind, but just the regular Olympics. And he's just an incredible person. But Jim Stovall, for about the last 20 years, has a syndicated article that he writes. It's on the internet all the time, and it's Wisdom for Winners. The name might be Winner's Wisdom, one or the other. But Jim Stovall has done remarkable things with his life, and he created the Narrative Television Network, and it's a nonprofit for the blind, and he produces movies and television with an audio soundtrack that's a narrator that's added to the normal dialogue, so that blind people can appreciate movies and television shows that other people get just naturally. But Jim Stovall is amazing. There's 13 million blind people in America, and he's dedicated to those people. But as I said, he's produced about 7 movies, the Ultimate Gift series with James Garner, Raquel Welch, and I think her name's Abigail Bresler. An incredible positive series. And he's written about 43 books. Of those books, Wisdom for Winners series. And he's allowed me, and I want to thank you again, Jim, for allowing me to use your Wisdom for Winners material on my shows. I've done 3 shows, 55, 59, and 71, where I just read from your books, Wisdom for Winners, and discuss what you've read. Well, what I really want to say, though, about Jim is that he's taught me something that I was just so fortunate to learn. I visited him. I drove 900 miles out of my way on a trip out to Oregon. I went through Tulsa, Oklahoma to meet him, but he tried to discourage me from going. I went 900 miles out of my way. I was on my way to prison in Oregon, but I wanted to meet him. And he gave me 15 minutes. And he finally said, okay, if you really want to come, you only have 15 minutes. Well, Here's my point. Jim Stovall has taught me, just by reading all of his books or many of his books and getting to know him, how to eliminate distractions in my life. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I often wondered as I went through life, how come I can't become more successful? How come I can't get to achieving that success, that goal that I always wanted? I watch other people do certain things that go all the way with what they really want to do, but for some reason, I kept having many, many setbacks and things that I just couldn't get to. Well, Jim, pretty much through all of the things that I've read, it just sort of came to me. It might not have been a specific thing that he said. It's just what I did learn from him. And here's what it is. You must know your purpose. And as you work toward your purpose, anything that you're doing that's not helping you move toward your purpose is a distraction. And you've got to eliminate distractions. Well, I thought I was pretty focused, but after getting to know Jim and talking to him on a regular basis, I believe that I'm finally starting to eliminate distractions and stay focused, and I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor finally. I want to say thank you to Jim also, because Jim introduced me to Dwayne Malov, the person that I mentioned a minute ago that was incarcerated for 27 years. Dwayne read one of his books and asked Jim to mentor him, and he ended up asking me would I take that, because he believes that I know more than he does about how to communicate with people that have been incarcerated. And so I've made an incredibly wonderful friend with Dwayne. I've known him now for about 14 months, and I just talked to him last night, and I'm going to read something that he sent in a minute. But Jim, thanks for believing in me. Thanks for sharing your time with me, and thanks for all the incredible, wonderful things you do for everyone. God bless you. Let me read what you wrote me. Steve, I want to congratulate you on your 100th podcast. All of us here at the Narrative Television Network understand what goes into creating top quality productions. So we have great admiration for you and the service you are providing. We wish you continued success as you share your powerful message and change lives. Jim Stovall. Jim, thank you so much. The next person that I would like to thank for believing in me and supporting the work of Right Thinking Foundation is one of the most incredible people that I've ever met. I've often said, and I said it on the introduction to her show, which was episode 18 on forgiveness, I said that she was one of the most beautiful human beings that I've ever known. Robin Kasarjian. She goes into prisons and she works with incarcerated people that will never be released. And she says to them that they have a purpose in life, a reason to live. Wow. Her book on forgiveness is the most complete book on the subject that I've ever come across other than the Bible. Robin has been there for me like no other. When I was first starting out with my foundation and I needed to have another nonprofit foundation sponsor me so that I could get my 501c3, Robin Kasarjian was there for me without asking. And so I don't even know what to say. She became my mentor when I wanted to get in prisons and to try to make a difference in the lives of incarcerated people, the returning citizens. And as I've said, she's always been there for me. Now, she's the executive director for about the last 30 years of the Lionheart Foundation. And the Lionheart Foundation, you can be reached at www.lionheart.org. And she has such incredible programs for emotional literacy and for at-risk teens. And she's got projects for prisoners and youth at risk, the National Emotional Literacy Projects for prisoners and youth at risk. But her program, Houses of Healing, is one of the most important programs that's in virtually every prison in the United States. And the title itself conveys what it is, Houses of Healing. A prison can be a place, a house where you can heal. And Robin is deeply, deeply into teaching meditation, mindfulness meditation. And as I've said, she's one of the most beautiful people that I've ever known. I'd like to read what she has honored me with to write me. Steve, I send my most heartfelt congratulations to you on Right Thinking's 100th anniversary show. What a great accomplishment. Not because you recorded 100 programs, but because each show is created with your big heart. Each show offers such heartfelt inspiration and practical guidance to support anyone who is open, ways to move forward in life in a good and productive way. I recently created a program for people first coming into the prison system called Making Time Count. That's exactly what you and your program are about. Steve, how to make the precious time we have count. How to make life